Give yourself a hand. It's all okay. It's okay to be right where you are. Hello, Bill.
Hello.
Come on in. So I heard a few things come out, purpose, fulfillment, in the flow. Purpose is a really great concept, and one thing I heard Wayne Dyer say one time that the fact that you're questioning your purpose means that you are on purpose. Sometimes we think we're supposed to already know what our purpose is, and we don't allow ourselves to be in the inquiry or in the question of figuring out what is my purpose, what is somebody else's purpose that's close to us, especially when we're in a close relationship like a parent-child relationship. And how are we to move through this space that we're in with a sense of peace, clarity, and confidence? Those are my three favorite words: peace, clarity, and confidence. And where do we go to find that purpose? Well, purpose, some people think that purpose is about doing. Doing the job, being successful at work, being busy all the time, accomplishment, achievement, accomplishment, achievement, accomplishment, achievement. And sometimes that continual state of accomplishment and achievement can get in our way, because then we're so busy doing that we don't feel a central guided purpose at all. We're not grounded, we're not centered. And even in our relationships, we can be all over the map, because we may perceive the relationship like, what are we doing? What do we have to do every day? What are we doing every day? What are we talking about every day? Where are we going every day? And doing is important, but it's only a part of purpose, because the other part of purpose is really the larger part, and that is the being. Okay, so remember, we're human beings, not human doings. And sometimes we can be so caught up in the doing and somebody else is doing what somebody else is doing and its impact on us, that we forget about this beingness that allows us to take a breath and slow down intentionally and say, allow ourselves, give ourselves permission, maybe not to be doing anything. And I think that's the hard part, because we have so many things on our plate, we don't ever allow ourselves to do nothing. I love to do nothing when I can. And my nothing equates to sitting on the swing at the house with a cigar and a little bit of whiskey and just sitting there and being. It allows me to recenter. And nature is a great place to get in touch, because no tree out there is rushing to grow. No animal out there is rushing to accomplish things. No river is trying to go upstream. Okay? If you look around and pay close attention to what happens in the natural world outside of mankind, things are at peace. Everything has a rhythm.
I never know how to
Is
spell
it R-H-Y? And another Y? Or just an L?
No, just an L.
I always mess that one up. Okay. So nature's able to get into this rhythm. But we get so busy up in our heads that it's like do. Even we're with somebody, it's like we should be talking right now. Really? A good key to the quality of a relationship that you have, I think, is when nobody is talking. when you're both just kind of present with each other and there's a pause in the conversation. And nobody's trying to push an agenda or push a conversation or feel the need to fill the space. Doing is about filling the space. Being is about filling our space. And so it's something that to pay attention to as we look at all the things that we have to do. Because all of this creates energy. This doing creates an energy. And remember, energy has power, and power has impact. Power will drive our choices, our decisions, where we are, who we are, what we have, what we're trying to get. And we can be very scattered in this world if we don't connect to this one. Now, hey David, how you doing? I can be just as focused though in my being. We're talking about being and doing. Being a human being, or are we a human doing? And it's about that zone. You know, it's like the professional athlete. When they are in the minute, you know, the Masters just occurred. I don't even know, it's over now, right? So who won?
Patrick Reed.
How many strokes?
He won by 1 stroke.
By 1 stroke. I didn't watch it, but isn't that interesting that he won by 1 stroke? So his ability to focus came from this and practicing all his skills, but also this. So he knew he was a great golfer before he put the foot on the course. Muhammad Ali knew he was a great boxer before he ever became great. So at that point, Muhammad Ali, before he got in the ring, hadn't done anything. So where was his greatness coming from? It was coming from who he was and his sense of self that expanded. And then he went from this to this. And that allowed him to go into this, which allowed him to become a champion. And the good news is that we can all be champions in our own realm. We can be a champion parent. We can be a champion business owner. We can be a champion coach. We can be champion web design, real estate agents, coaches. Whatever it is that we're doing, if we can have the presence in the present moment to get in touch with where we are and say, let me check in, what's really going on, and where do I need to redirect my energy and my thoughts? What is my purpose? So somebody give me an example of a purpose. Doesn't have to be your purpose, but a purpose.
So I'm going through a book, Start With Why, and so a lot of the, gets to the core of that. We were talking about that the other day.
This is Simon Sinek.
Yeah, and so just in reflecting my life, my purpose, and really the reason why I exist, I think, why God created me, my whole life I've helped others succeed.
Okay.
So I've coached a number of sports teams. I caddied when I was a teenager. I coach our current customers, and when I sat back and looked at all that, I was like, wow, that's why I'm here. And it gave me a new sense of energy and a new sense of purpose to say, wow, this is who I am, and now I can use that in different ways. Now I just got to figure out which direction I'm going to head. But.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much does that purpose motivate you?
Oh, it motivates me a lot. It was really, I don't know, maybe validation, or it's kind of neat to discover that, to
Sure.
look back on your whole life and say, wow, there's this common thread that has existed, and it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of neat.
Okay. thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna get some more input on that from you guys in a second. But purpose gives us motivation, and Bill also used another good word, validation, right? What other things, and then we'll come back to different other kinds of purpose. What other things does having a purpose give us?
Clarity.
Clarity. Okay? Keeps us from going all over the place with time, money, resources, emotions.
I think identity.
Identity. You know, identity is a powerful one. Because remember this, especially identity can tie into doing. What happens when a professional or even a high school athlete blows out a knee? And they have painted their whole future in their identity as an athlete. I mean, we see it happen all the time. Professional players, college, high school kids with great scholarships ahead of them. All it takes is one hit, and they're out. They're not able to play again. And identity can play a really positive role, both creating unlimited opportunities, but also creating some limitations. If our identity is too much on the doing, man, if I'm not playing professional football, who am I? You know, if I'm not able to hit the home runs the way I used to, who am I? Go ahead.
Just in light of what you were saying about the athlete, I grew up with a guy that played for the Minnesota Vikings, and he ended up, like you said, getting a knee injury. And from that point on, he must have lost his sense of purpose, because he deteriorated from going, I guess, the drugs that he was taking into becoming a drug addict, and just has never been able to come out of that.
Right.
You know, life has just been disastrous. So I think the purpose also would give us a sense of direction, that if that one doesn't work out, we can switch gears into another direction.
Yes.
The one I was thinking about is confidence, because, I mean, it is sort of the chicken and the egg, but the confidence that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that was the right thing for you to be doing what you were good at. You have the confidence to keep moving forward in that, because Bill and I are reading the same book, and I had done a little work on this, and one of my personality, my number one, the why, when I went through the little workshop and on the app from the Institute, is challenge. And so I don't allow the status quo. You know, I'm always fighting and fighting against what is the thing. They say it makes us terrible employees. But and both my sons have the same one, which I think is funny. But the confidence, that knowing that that's my purpose and that's what I do, gives me the confidence to fight against what I would consider an arbitrary rule or
Sure.
something that I can fight harder for. It gives me that availability to step out and be outside of what a lot of people would feel very uncomfortable for. But for me, knowing that that's what I'm supposed to do, it gives me the confidence to do that.
Okay, great. That's a good one. Good one. What else? Any other qualities that the feeling of being on purpose or having a clear purpose might provide us?
Peace.
Peace.
Happiness?
Sure.
I think sometimes though you do get lost in your purpose when it's your identity and all of these things, and you love it so much, you have a tendency to go to that and, you know, stay away from some things, or it will drain your time from things that
Absolutely,
you
and
need to.
we're gonna get to that, because we can be, again, focused into the doing on the purpose, And that can make us unavailable to a lot of other things around us too. I think, when I think of purpose and the value of having a purpose, I think of this word, trust. I have a deeper sense of trust. Who I am, what I'm doing, who other people are and what they're doing. More allowance and acceptance of things being as they are rather than trying to control from a sense of scarcity or lack or everything's broken and I need to fix it kind of thing. And so these are all great benefits, and there's many, many more of having a purpose. In fact, these are the conditions when we think about what is our purpose, or we want clarity on our purpose. These become the conditions we want to create about our purpose. Yes, I'm going to add that. This purpose also, tying into what Kim said, can really make us question how we define success. Because if I'm an athlete and my gift is my athletic prowess or athletic skills, the only success is achieved in my doing and becoming a champion. Getting the endorsements and the money and the success of all of that. I can lose complete focus on what success looks like outside of that specific outcome for my life. I can forget that I can be a great volunteer, that I could lead a nonprofit, that I could influence young people, that I could raise a family, that I could be an artist, quit sports and become an artist, or become a physical therapist, or whatever it might be, because again, we're not thinking in those lines. We're zeroed in on it's not a false sense of purpose, but it's a specific sense of purpose. And we're not able to think of purpose outside of those lines. And so we have a tunnel vision.
Maybe, I'm just thinking out loud. That purpose could be more like a journey rather than a destination.
Thank you.
Because I look at purpose as a specific, and just like you said, thinking outside the box doesn't allow you to think about the other things that you might be good at.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Joy. That's exactly right. We can think the purpose is like something we achieve in a moment of time. My purpose is to become a millionaire, or my purpose is to become a movie star, or an real estate producer. And we put that mark on the wall and everything becomes about that. And we forget about this in the middle. And so our time and our energy and our mental thing is all focused around the do, and we don't care if we skirt some rules, hurt some people in the process, compromise our integrity or other things. Okay, because we have a warped distortion and a very limited view of that purpose and what it looks like. At the same time, that type of purpose can be very motivating in helping us learn what we need to learn, fight when we need to fight, express more courage when we need to have more courage, more motivation, more drive, getting up early in the morning, okay? Pursuing a degree or whatever. So it can provide good value. The only question is it making us short-sighted in what we're really all about on the purpose? What are some other purposes that we might have? Bill said help others succeed.
So for myself, Simon was someone who actually was a huge influence on my life, and once I found out my why, things it just made sense. And for me, it was to help people see things from a different perspective,
Okay.
so that they can open up to new possibilities.
Okay, great. That's, if you wanna be a coach, that's what you do.
Right.
What else?
So I protect people.
Yes.
My purpose of work is managing other people, you know, and I've realized that I've enabled them a lot of times when they're constantly counting on me to do their job for them, so I've gotten to the point where I'm not enabling them and coaching them through doing it. So my purpose is managing, but learning not to be that enabler,
Okay.
be more the manager.
So if you were a good manager on purpose, what would that statement be? What purpose does a good manager serve?
Leader.
And a leader influences positively. Leaders can influence negatively too, but we're focused on the positive. That's exactly right. So influencing positively. What about a parent's purpose? Kim was expressing some of her situation, and I've had similar, and anybody who's had a child has had some similar stuff. So what is a good parent purpose?
Guidance?
Guidance.
I think it's like all of those things.
Yeah.
All of these things, absolutely.
Are wrapped into one, yeah.
I think as a parent too, sort of like being a nurturer of your children, but not being an enabler to the point where you handicap them.
Right.
And you know, your children often, very often, is my view, they see what I do more than they hear what I say.
Right.
Like role model is what I was.
Role model, yeah, okay. So I'm hearing role model, teacher, nurturer, empowerer. That's what I think. When I think about, for me and my kids, I looked up at some times when I was unavailable as a father, when I wanted to be more available and I just was not very available as a father. But what I've learned since then is that, in my view, part of the purpose of a parent is to create conditions for teaching values to your children. Period. It's going to be up to them whether they adopt those teachings or not, especially the older they get. We tend to lose less and less. We tend to have less and less control over our children the older they get, and that can be as soon as 15 or 16. And they're starting to form their own opinions and their own values and their own behaviors and what they do. But in my view, the attempt is to teach them values so that they're able to function as a healthy, responsible adult.
Discipline, boundaries.
Boundaries.
Because there are some parents that I've actually have some friends that they become friends with their children, and their children really don't have respect for them. I
Mhm.
mean, it's a battleground, it's an argument for, take the trash out. I don't feel like it now, you know, so I think with boundaries and respect, as a parent, not to say that you can't be a friend, but that's not the objective, to be your friend.
Right. Excellent point. Excellent point.
My father would always say, I'm not your peer, I'm your parent, so I don't care if you hate me.
Right.
Okay. I
Well,
need something
And
else.
that sounds like a dad on purpose, right?
Yeah.
Because a dad off purpose would be oversensitive to that,
Right.
would walk on eggshells, and lose the ability to do this from a position of respect.
I think another thing that I try to do as a parent is an encourager. I try to encourage my daughter to, make good choices and raise my granddaughter the way I want to raise her. Do it my way.
You were.
No, but I do try to encourage her in all aspects of her life.
So here's a question, all excellent feedback. What part of all of these things, if we are on purpose and we are aligned with these conditions that we want to create and these qualities and values that we want to demonstrate as a part of our purpose, and it's interesting that most of these purposes are centered where?
Outside of us.
Outside of us, on other people. Now, is there anything wrong with that?
Well, that's one of the things I wrote, that, I'm focused on improving myself so that I can be more available to help others.
Yes.
Because since I've been struggling in the last week a lot, it makes me short and angry and not as patient with everyone. And I don't wanna feel that way, but it also makes me less effective on my purpose.
Right.
I think we can lose ourselves in doing all of those things for other people because we're so worried about, well, what if they don't, succeed? What if they fall? What if they do this or do that? And then next thing you know, you're an empty shell and you have like nothing left to give because you've given it all that way.
Yes. And see, even in this realm, we can get so caught up in the doing. Okay? Whether it's at work or with family or whatever, in the doing of our purpose, and attach success to the behavior of somebody else as our sign of success. Okay? What does a parent do when a parent does their very best? And they really do their very best to create these things and to be available, but a child decides to completely disregard and go out and do things that are contrary, and then end up really substance abuse, homeless, criminal, or whatever, as the parent failed to be on purpose.
No, but we think we did.
Right, I think that there's no book on parenting, and I think if you could do and beat yourself up so badly because we're not in control of someone else's life and being and doing. What I recently just tried to do is feel like and know that I've done my best. No, wasn't perfect. Yes, I made mistakes, but I can't allow your behavior to dictate what's going on in my present being now, because I can't help you at this point. Those decisions you make, I can pray for you, that's about it, but I don't want to be the victim in this situation.
Excellent.
I want to rise above that.
Yes. So, is Joy's behavior there consistent with being on purpose or off purpose? On purpose. On the doing side or more on the being side?
Being.
You
Okay.
already did the doing.
You did the doing, and the other person's not responding. Okay? And we can get all upset, and this can be in a work environment, it can be whatever we think that our purpose is outside of us not coming true or not happening the way we expect. And then all of a sudden we go into judgment mode and say, I don't know what my purpose is. Or I thought I knew what my purpose was, but I don't. Or I thought I knew my purpose, but I don't know how to do my purpose.
Do you
Maybe
think
I need to
that's-
do more, maybe I need to do less, you know?
Do you think that sometimes because society sets these so-called standards on us as individuals and parents, that it's like a bred condition, so you gotta fight your way out of that paper bag, not to be stereotyped into accepting that that's how it has to be.
Absolutely. See, society looks at us through their own lens of, oh, you're only successful when. See what I'm saying? Oh, you're only successful if you do this. Oh, if you have a kid or you have an employee or this, if your business goes bankrupt, see, you're a failure. You're not on purpose. Something's wrong with you. You're not complying. You're not looking like this. And you're not achieving this specific result. Therefore, society says failure. Okay. Huge with bankruptcy because of our big attachment about money. But a lot of business owners can think that they go off, what's that?
Divorce.
Divorce too. Bankruptcy, divorce, breakups, a child goes astray. Okay. Next thing you know, not only are we judging ourselves and others and our purpose, we got everybody else describing it for us and putting on their own perspective, which really brings the requirement even more so to us to get really clear on how we define success. When I was in the military, I grew, my parents gave me Army stuff. One Christmas morning in 1969, I was 7 years old. And from that point on, I only wanted to be in the Army. And I wanted to be a general in the Army. So all through school, I'm reading books on Patton and Eisenhower and Doolittle, especially World War II generals were just fascinating. And so I was going to go be a general. So I went to school, went to ROTC, became an officer in the Army. I'm thinking general. And I'm sitting in a class one day learning about how to be a staff officer, and the instructor's a lieutenant colonel coming up on about 20 years and probably just a little bit from his retirement. And he's walking by my desk and he goes, so, Captain Hyatt, what's your goal? What are you in the military for? What do you want to do? And I looked up and I'm like, I'm going to be a general. That kind of arrogance and egotistical kind of energy, but I'm going to be a general. And he just smiled and he put his hand on my shoulder and just kind of nodded and he goes, if you retire after 20 years as a lieutenant colonel, will you still consider yourself a success? And when he said that, I will never forget it. Something hit me in the stomach. It really occurred to me that I had no definition of success in my mind, that I had a huge lack of self-confidence, that the idea of a general appealed to me more than the reality of being a general, okay? And what did I end up doing? Retiring as a lieutenant colonel after 27 years, okay? So I could, through my very narrow vision, still be beating myself up that, geez, Johnny, you were supposed to be a general and you never did, and you were off purpose and you never achieved your purpose, and now that purpose is gone. I could be looking at that through that lens. And I'd be lying if I said that the idea doesn't float to my mind from time to time, like, hey, what if I would have made it to general? What would it be like? How would I be? What would I be doing? But this whole thing of how we attach purpose to success is the huge key that we're all dealing with. And until I started to change my definition of success, because if it was still general, how would I be looking at myself? Failure. You know, I've got 5 kids. I divorced their mother, okay, and some of them were still young. I could consider myself a failed father because of that. But that's not a part of my perspective either. I don't view divorce as a death sentence on parenting or on relationships, but a lot of people do. So I just share that story with you as a tie-in to, like, how do you attach purpose to success? Especially when there are other people involved in what you do, and their choices have consequences for them. Any input on that?
Well, for me, the redefining of success is not that difficult, because in what I do, you know, what we say is we have to change your definition of win, because a win is not always a not guilty. A win might be the plea offer that saves someone's life, or that resolves it for them. It may not be a dismissal of the charge. So we redefine what the win. Sometimes it's a mistrial. The win for that day is a mistrial. You walk back out of the courtroom and nobody's convicted yet.
Right.
That's a win.
Right.
And you have to rethink it, because even though you're doing and being and you're on purpose, the straight not guilty might not be what is supposed to happen. And so you can control, which I have a lot of issues with, as much as you can control. But then you do need to, and I always say with my clients that if they felt fought for and the process was fair or made fair, they feel much better about what happens in the outcome than if they weren't fought for, or they weren't, the process was not fair.
Right.
So their definition of win changes as well, based on what that process was like along the way.
Okay. So, I like Kim's description, because we're genuinely concerned if our purpose involves somebody else, and we're concerned and we care about the results we have on them, okay, on other people, kids, clients, whatever it might be. But what Kim said is important, is because the win might look differently, but the on purpose doesn't change. The being on purpose doesn't change when we get clear and confident and full of trust on how we want to show up and the values we bring to the table. So you're still a successful attorney as long as you remain committed to fairness, process, due process, rights,
And caring about your client.
and care, genuine care about the client.
That makes a huge difference.
So your check on success is in those areas, but also, like, yeah, if my client actually wins in court, that's a bonus too. And that's where you go to, but you wouldn't go to that and sacrifice the conditions. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't ask them to try.
You know, when you think about, again, how the win is and the difference of the wins, it is interesting, but no, because I don't think you can get there when you
Right.
sacrifice the conditions. I don't think they come from cheating or not doing something correctly. I don't think that win or success comes from that. I
Yes.
haven't really seen that. In fact, I've seen the opposite happen. So, yeah, it's hard to say, like, could I just go ahead and fast forward to the win and not have all of that along the way? I don't think that's possible. But yeah, I don't think you can sacrifice it to get there.
Excellent. I don't think you can either. And I think that's where the being and the doing comes in, okay? Because our being can be consistent, while our doing can be, hey, over here I'm doing this, over here I'm doing that. Yeah, I'm out on a date with somebody, I'm at lunch with somebody, I'm with a client, I'm on the phone at work, I'm at the gym, I'm thinking about my business, I'm in court, whatever, I'm on the court, whatever the case might be, is our doing can be circumstantial and situational. But our being is what makes us alive, and our being is where our real purpose is. The doing is simply our chosen direction of our energy at any given time. Is it possible for purpose to change over a lifetime?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So purpose, we could also say, could be like growing, evolving, because nothing stays the same. You know,
Right.
the old adage is, the only thing that's constant and consistent is change. So our purpose, it's kind of like, you think you want this, and then you get it, and you're like, oh, this ain't what I thought it was. I don't want that anymore.
Careful what you
Right.
wish for.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, we
Yeah.
get older, we mature, our
Yeah.
experience matures. What we want keeps expanding.
Mhm.
Okay, an entrepreneur might start with on purpose on doing any one of these things and start a business. Then their purpose expands, and it might expand in scope. I want to influence more people. I want to build an empire. I want to franchise this thing and go international, okay? Or I want to go narrow and I want to work, but I want to work deeper within a certain segment or a certain group or a certain field. And then 10 years later, it can contract and move. And developing a sense of comfort and peace and clarity and confidence as our life moves and as other people move. Okay, and as other people make decisions. Oh, isn't it interesting that this person, who part of my purpose is to influence them positively, they're showing up in a certain way that is not likely to bring the results that I would like them to have.
So, I did, when he was talking to me this weekend in such a poor way, I did, even though it was very painful, did stop and did, it is, sometimes it's like the talismanic words. I said, it is interesting to me that you are saying X to keep and it kept the dialogue open and it kept it from being as strongly against each other emotionally. So
Yes.
it kept me hanging there, even hurting, but being able to stay in.
Yes.
I didn't have everything with me, but I was hanging in there and then trying to keep him talking.
Excellent.
And that was what I fell back on, to try to keep him in as much as I could. It was painful.
But you did it. Okay? That's a great example of practicing. And the more we're able to do that, the more we're able to demonstrate that courage and commitment to our purpose. See, you're committed enough to your purpose to go, what if I change myself and how I'm going to show up available in this situation? And what kind of different result will I get and feel? And you experience that, even if it was just a 1-degree shift. And that's all we're talking about that's ever needs to take place is a 1-degree shift, because now that you've had a taste and practice it, it will be, number one, more in your frame of mind. Number two, become more of a manner of your speech. Number three, your courage will increase to where it becomes more likely to happen in the future, that you'll be able to do that. The change on him, oh, mom is showing up different. That requires me to show up different, subconsciously or consciously, it doesn't matter. Okay? Because you extended the conversation, you extended the opportunity, and he played along. Unbeknownst to him. Okay? So, this is a great example of a person being committed to their purpose, which is down here for their kids, looking for fulfillment, being in the flow, okay? Not trying to go upstream with the situation, but to keep going downstream with the situation, defining success in a different way, because it was no longer about her winning the argument, but about the conversation and creating the conditions for the conversation to continue. Because the more the conversation continued, the more information gets shared. The more information gets shared, the more emotions get shared. The more emotions get shared in a safer environment, the connection improves, even if it's just a little bit. And you cultivate the soil and create conditions for something different to happen the next time. And sometimes we think that's a small thing. Let me tell you, it is a huge thing, because we never truly know what the overall impact is on the other person. We may think that any information we get on the impact is going to happen right then and there. The information on the impact might not come for a few days, a few weeks, a month, 5 years from now. Hey, remember that time we were having that conversation and you said this? I still remember the way you, and the impact it made on me. And I always wanted to. See, you know what I mean? We never know when those opportunities are that we're swimming in, when we're swimming in that ocean. You know? And so kudos to you for having the courage for practicing. That's awesome.
But I do think it was part survival too. I mean,
Absolutely.
we're trapped. I'm trapped in that car in this very painful experience and conversation, and I want to hear more, even as painful as it is.
Yes.
And I was trying to listen, but also take notes, because I thought the words were important. The words, the actual words he was using were important. So I was trying to, you know, I actually did journal in the car after we talked, so I guess I was practicing that too.
Good.
But just, it was part survival for me to just try to be like, okay, if I let all this emotion take over me right now, then we're done. This conversation is not going anywhere, and I'm, you know.
Right.
So I guess that's why it bubbled up, because it.
Well, what things that survive, species that survive, do what? Adapt. You adapted, you improvised, you overcame. Heartbreak Ridge, Clint Eastwood. And by doing that, you grew stronger, you created a different condition for him, and again, you've planted that seed now of showing up differently for conversation. Learning how to shift your energy from this standpoint that there's just not one way to deal with a teen in this situation. There are different conversational skills to use. There are different words to use. There's a different energy to present. Even when we do feel like the emotions are negative and the energy is low energy and we want to respond in the typical defensive way, which would have gotten you your old result. So does everybody see that? She stayed in purpose. She exercised new behaviors. Success looked different, okay? Because success was no longer winning or screaming or winning the fight. It was creating more space in the conversation to get more information and to create a deeper experience. And that required you going into being mode, because it's not like, what am I doing right now? It's like, who am I being and how do I want to show up? I want to show up safe instead of adversarial. And that created a shift.
Also, I think that Kim trusted her shift, her paradigm shift on how you were gonna engage with your son at that point. Because if you had not changed, or if you'd had mental gymnastics about how am I gonna continue, how am I gonna get him to open up, rather than following that shift in that trust of, okay, we're going to change things in this car. It's going to be a different atmosphere, and it's got to start with me. So again, you're trusting yourself, you validated your purpose in trying to open up with your son and showing him a different side of you than maybe that combative side or that argumentative
A
side.
professional argument winner. Try to back off of that a little bit, yeah. But I wish I could tell you that there was enough, that there was at least that much insight or thought that went into it. It literally, I think it sprang from the pain, and it was a way to, it wasn't a wall that I put up, but it was protecting me, but still trying to get the information that I needed from him. So that's about as much, and that's probably only looking at it in hindsight, was just the thought of having talked to you, John, and then thinking, okay, what even just the fleeting thought of what can I do different right now to sort of get this to change the dynamic a little bit.
Yeah,
And I think that's about as far as the insight I got.
sure. Well, that was enough because that kicked in your trust, self-trust, again,
Right.
okay? Your self-trust kicked in and said, I can handle this if I do it differently. I trust myself, my intuition's telling me to shift here, and let me make the shift. I'll be okay. I'll be okay. Okay? And so that self-trust expanded. That's a breakthrough in self-trust for you, and it is for any of us when we're in that moment, when we're tired of doing the same thing all the time, and we go, what? I'm going to trust myself and my instinct and my purpose to go into being mode instead of doing mode, and I'm going to allow some space for a different choice. You've had similar experiences.
Yeah, and we talked about it, about my, that's my daughter, living in Italy for many years and coming here. I know my first year I was very resistant. I was very hard, and I realized I wasn't, by me being hard on myself, thinking I'm miserable when I'm mad, I made everybody else around miserable also. Or, it almost cost me a lot. My wife, my daughter, I mean a lot. Just by me missing something that I love, but not looking at things also in a different way, being here. And like I said, I just did a little change of my outlook on living here in Atlanta and responding in a different way, which changed a lot. I mean, just a little thing. And all that time I had all this stuff in me about, frustration, when it was only my frustration.
So when you first came from Italy, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much purpose did you feel?
I think I was in negative numbers, man.
All right.
It was hard, and I took every excuse to go back, which was bad also, because I didn't give it an opportunity, and so whenever I had the opportunity to go back, I went. This year I changed it. I decided to travel more with my wife when she goes out for work. And I'm seeing a lot more. North Carolina, Tennessee,
Hey.
Colorado, things like that. Whereas last year, I didn't even think about it. It didn't even cross my mind.
So how much on purpose do you think you're experiencing now on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh man, I'm at a 10 now.
Okay.
I'm at a 10 based on the results of things that has happened to me. Whereas my coach and my team last year was terrible. I mean, terrible. But as I told my team during our banquet this year, we won district championship, same players. But I apologized to my team and to the parents because I wasn't true to them at all last year. I was coaching, but I wasn't coaching. And they could feel it, because that's how they played. But the minute I kinda, this year, when everything was going great, because I didn't do nothing, and the team just took off. By
So
itself.
what changed? Your doing or your being?
My being. I didn't have to do anything, you know, just
You
all.
didn't do anything different, but you shifted on the inside. Remember, we're magnets and we're shifting.
This is funny, because I said the same words. Ox out, do this, but I said it in a way last year that was negative. But you know, this year I said the same exact thing, but the energy was different. It was different from me. And it's, you know, those little things are amazing. Thanks to you, everyone
You
here.
know, you guys are doing the work.
And you know, and what frustrated me more last year is that I have always been a peaceful person. I have always did pretty much what I wanted to do. I'm a military man like you, so we're like this.
Right.
So last year was my first time out of my element, and I didn't like it. I had zero. I'm thinking I should have control.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to relinquish this thought of this control, you know, trying to make 30 years in Italy, 1 year in Atlanta. It's not possible. It took me 30 years to get where I had to get there. And I was trying to do it all at one shot.
Right.
And it wasn't realistic. It just wasn't. And I knew that. That was the worst thing about it, is that I knew it. All the teams I coached before in sports will always get successful. So, you know, to have that last year and what I was going through, you know, my wife, I mean, she was like, you know, almost out the door.
Mm-hmm.
So it was tough, but life is a challenge. It's a challenge.
So that's another good example of how when we're thinking of purpose and we're thinking, oh, now I'm off purpose because I'm in a different physical space, I'm in a different geographical place, my relationships have changed, my job has changed, my family's changed, somebody's not complying and doing what I want them to do, so I feel off purpose. So when you feel that energy, that's the opportunity, that's your intuition and saying, where's your purpose anywhere? Is it inside of you or is it outside of you? Because really any outside influence like you have, Bill, you want to help other people succeed. That comes from the place in you that understands what it feels like to succeed and the benefit of that and the value of that for somebody. Wouldn't you say?
I think so, yeah.
And people see that. They see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I work in the school system and I was terrible. I mean, I was good at my job, but I was terrible at the job. At the same time, it's just a weird thing because my relationship this year with the same people, the teachers and the principal, it's like reverse. It's so different of what I know, you know, but I know that last year it affected everything. And I was still going through the motion.
Still doing.
Still doing, but I was not being at all. I was tell people, I think I was, sometimes I didn't know how I got to work.
There were-
Tell me more about your model, like what motivates, what's brought you to your purpose and how?
So I'm working on a new business initiative or a new idea, and you know, part of it is, and I've been working on it for a while, but it's like, so am I willing to walk away from what I've been doing for 19 years and start over with no clients, no money, nothing, and create this thing that I've got a vision for? And it's a little scary, and it's taken some time to put the model together. I want to make sure I've got a good model, and now it's almost to the point where it's like, now I got to get out there and just start talking to people and signing people up.
Right,
and it's business training and business coaching.
right.
And so I'm excited about it, and then I'm nervous. You know, I haven't felt this nervous about something when I think about it. So I'm dealing with, you know, both of those things. And,
Sure.
Yeah.
But what is it that motivates you to create what it is you're creating? At the end of the day, when you picture success, what do you see?
So in our, you know, web development business, 19 years. I mean, we've met a lot of people that are business owners, and we see that it's hard, and there's a lot of aspects to business, and we see people are doing it wrong. So I think part of being a coach is, you know, there's a right way and a wrong way, and you're doing it wrong, and you know, and when we share, you know, just a concept to somebody and they apply it, and it's like, you know, see, I told you, you know, when I fix somebody's golf swing and see instant results, it's like, you know, I feel good about
That
that.
makes you happy.
Yeah, and it's instant, and I feel good, like, you know, yeah, I did that, you know. Well, truthfully, I didn't do that, but you know, I had a part in that.
Very well.
So I think the motivation with this is just, you know, I've seen a lot of businesses that are, and there are going to be more and more businesses that are going to be spawning. The trends, you know, are indicating that. And so just, I think it's an opportunity to help people, and looking forward to it.
I think thank you for sharing that, because one of the first blocks we can have is when we question the value of our own gifts. See, we question our own being. We question our skills as a coach, a business coach. Are we good enough? Can we really share what we know? Will really people experience success? Have I been successful enough already to even put myself out as, you know, what if nobody buys? What if nobody's interested? What if I get 500 rejections, you know? And that can have a big impact. What if my kid decides to, after 21 years, decides to go off and do his own thing and completely disregard everything that I say, you know? So we're constantly judging ourselves, our being, okay, as, are we good enough to serve? Are we good enough to have a purpose? Are we worthy of a purpose? Does our unique gift make a difference for somebody else? And just to set you straight, the answer is always yes. The answer is always yes. There is never a no answer. Okay? So the first time you hear that I wonder, check in with yourself and say, is that true, or am I just, do I need to call BS on myself and say, I am honoring the gift, I know at my gut that it's true, and it's really just a little bit of fear and ego talking to keep me from, you know, taking the next step forward. And that's where you go into your being. Because your capacity, your courage, and your drive will come from this. Your doing will come from the being. When our doing comes from the natural source of our being, like our being is the fountain of our doing, we're empowered, we're aligned, we're attracting. Even if we are not as successful as in the moment that we think we are on the road to success, and it's just a matter of time before things start to happen. You know, we get the first client, then we get the second client, you know. We pass our card out 100 times. It's the 101st time that somebody gets our business card that they decide to, hire you for your services. And when we get in touch with that and allow that to become our inner motivation and our inner drive, the secret is we're already successful now. So you are already a successful parent when you are showing up consistent with your values and the qualities to create the conditions you want for your children. You are already a successful parent, irregardless of the choice that they make. Your success as a parent is not on the decisions that your child makes. My success as a military officer was not on whether I put stars on my shoulder or not. Okay? Your success as an attorney is based on who you are every day and the values and the conditions that you're trying to create every day in the courtroom, no matter the outcome of your client. And that kind of perspective lets us look at things in a different way. I'm successful and I'm on purpose even if I'm in America. I don't have to be in Italy to feel on purpose, successful, happy, present in the moment. But it's whenever we think that we have to be or we have lacked and we don't have enough that we question our purpose. I'm not good enough. I was telling my mom, you know, she's getting older, especially as you get older, you know, and you're a little bit incapacitated. A lot of older people start to question their purpose. My kids are there, my grandkids are doing this. Nobody, you know, comes to see me, I'm not important, you know, and we can immediately go to like, I'm not needed anymore. I told my mom, get up, make a phone call. You're needed. People need to see you at church. Go to church. People need to see you. They need your hug. They need hear you say, I love you, you know, whatever it is. And when we attach ourselves to that level of purpose that comes from our being, we find plenty to do. We're able to prioritize the things we need to prioritize on any given day, and we're able to stay in the flow of our purpose rather than fighting against our purpose. We're able to take the leap that says, yep, time to put that Facebook page out, time to launch my website, time to start handing out a new business card when I go out to tell people what I'm doing. With that complete radical trust, I put it up there, radical trust that you're good enough, that your purpose is good enough, and that the benefit you want to give people is not only needed, but vastly needed. You want to be a coach, let me tell you, man, there is more than enough business out there. Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, nobody has even touched half the amount of people that need help as a coach. I never see other coaches. I love coaching. I love always meeting new coaches because I don't see any coach as competition. Are you kidding me? You know, just the population of Marietta alone, okay, would keep me busy for the rest of my life. And if I came up with the right products and programs, probably make me a millionaire. I'm working on that.
There you go.
So, trust yourself. Trust your gift. Trust your direction and movement. If you've got an idea, trust it. Run it to ground. Question it. Look into it. Get curious about it. And then go, well, what about something else? Then what? If I'm doing this for 5 years, then what? What does it look like? What does it look like, feel like, taste like, sound like? What new words can I use to describe it? First to myself, and secondly to other people. How do I describe my control or my lack of control or the amount of things that I'm trying to do in a different way to feel different about it? What type of conditions do I want to create? We're always creating conditions. The question is what conditions do we want to create to get the results that we want? That's where this kind of work comes into. What does my purpose look like, feel like, sound like, value-wise, quality-wise, condition-wise? Then what impact would it have on other people?
You know, I was talking to my daughter about this, and she used one word, a generation, I guess. She said, but Daddy, don't you think it's called manipulation? And I said, no, it's not manipulation, because the bottom line is the type of energy I want to get back, the type of energy I want to put out, the type of energy I want back. So it's not about manipulation, it's about what I want to feel.
Who was she afraid is being manipulated?
Like, I be telling her, explaining, what I be doing sometimes, and, but she feels that, cause I always say external people, you know, when you feel okay with yourself, you almost look a little bit selfish, because you know exactly what you want and how you want to feel. And you won't compromise it, but you do compromise it, because you change your way, you change your word, and your everything to get the result that you want to feel. And it's not called manipulation or talk, it's called you trying to, like me, I always want to stay within my peace. You know, this is where I want to stay, but still have a win-win situation with everyone. You know, my daughter's pretty tough, you know, she's a tough one, and so she has been a challenge. But when I talk to her about what she wants to do, she has so many ideas, and even tonight I'm gonna tell her about, she always has this idea of doing, and I always say the idea of being, just being who you are, will bring back what you want. You know,
Excellent.
until you find that love or passion of what you really want to do, it will, you know, the money you want, it will come to you.
Right.
The people you want to meet. You know, at 26, that's not too old to see that now.
She's gonna go through a lot of doing
She's gonna go
before
through a
she'll
lot.
hit the bean spot.
It's not
But maybe
manipulation.
not.
It's not manipulation, though, because even with two children, you want two children to do the same task. You gotta go at them different ways to get that same task, because they don't think the same.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's just the way, my wife is totally opposite. My wife is very like this. She sees it like very hard. So, you know, sometimes I have to be like, you know, let her be. But David, she wants to just quit a job and just do, let her be. I mean, this is what she wants to do. And I'm learning for myself, whereas my coming to Atlanta wasn't my job. It was just me being in Atlanta. I just did not.
Resistance. Yeah, when you're doing this work and you're feeling resistance, that's not the sign to turn around and run away from it. It's the sign to dive in. Oh, resistance, I'm diving in. Because this resistance is here for a reason, and I know that the breakthrough's on the other side, and I can spend the rest of the year being resistant and trying to, you know, fight it, rather than what am I afraid of? I'm going to dive into the resistance and see what my greatest fear is. Is it even valid? Can I call BS on it?
Right.
What values or qualities do I want to bring to show up available for in order to make whatever I'm resisting irrelevant and taken off the map? That's what happens. When you find a quality and a value that works, that creates authenticity, that creates empowerment for you, it makes other choices and the things you're resisting irrelevant because they go away. The fear dissolves. There's now no fear of a child rejecting you, because it's impossible to be rejected. Okay? Instead, you show up in a place to teach a value to a child, and you're present, empowered, authentic, consistent, patient, firm, clear, precise, whatever it is, and you allow for the child to make the choice, but who you're showing up in that moment eliminates the resistance. It stares down the worst fear, and the resistance goes away, and nothing but opportunity rises to the top. And you have, in that moment, created conditions for a change and a shift for you and a shift for somebody else, whether it's a business owner or whatever it is. And all these things we can script about in our scripting. And remember, scripting is writing as if we already have what we want with the end result in mind. So if I'm going to script about my purpose, How would I script about my purpose even if I really didn't know what my purpose was at first?
You're open. You're
Okay.
open to finding out what your purpose is.
Yes. Thank you, God, that I'm right where I'm supposed to be, just like Terrence the Turtle, in my quest for determining my purpose. I'm supposed to be in the question. I'm supposed to be creating it. I'm supposed to be wondering it. Okay? Putting aside what the specific purpose might be for a moment, how will I feel once I find my purpose? How will I feel working in my purpose? What values and qualities will drive my purpose? How will I show up available? What will I show up available for when I'm on purpose? What will it look like, feel like, sound like, taste like when I'm on purpose? And you start to describe that. And then you can say, if I were to choose a purpose at the top of my head right now, I would choose this. I am open to peace and clarity around it. I am open to deeper questions and insight into it. What would be my second one? Oh, it might be this. I'm going to allow for movement and to be in the flow as I get into my purpose and as I get clarity around my purpose. So when you're scripting, you're using terms just like up there. Committed, divine time and order, give and receive, radical forgiveness, divine right action, peace in the process. Even though there are a ton of things on the schedule for me to do today, I intend to allow myself to be today, and whatever I accomplish will be good enough. And I am divinely led to prioritize and do those things that are most important. And I release and let go attachment to things that are left undone tonight. Okay? So you're scripting, you get your journal, you put a dedication in it in the first page, you date it, you sign it, and then you start scripting what you want with clarity. If you're scripting about your business experience and your perfect client, you would describe your perfect client. I love meeting my perfect client. Thank you that my perfect clients are already out there and they have these qualities and I am divinely led to them. My emails and phone calls and text messages and meetings today are divinely leading me to my perfect first client. And it looks like, feels like, sounds like this. Okay? Thank you, God, already that I have 10 clients this month. So we're using gratitude as a basis for our scripting. And we're using gratitude as a context to create conditions for what it is that we want. When you focus on the conditions underneath what you want, then you're open to different results. So I don't want to get attached to how something specifically shows up. The specific client has to be this person. No. This is my perfect client. All right? I'm going to trust that I'm being divinely led to my perfect client with these conditions. Anybody I meet who does not have those conditions, I release and let go. We're not supposed to work together at this time. And so, by focusing on the conditions I want to create rather than the end result, more doors are open. This or something better. This or something better happens with my child. And something better might be they hit rock bottom in a situation. And that could be the best thing that would ever happen to them. Okay?
Can I share just a quick?
Yes.
What you were saying about seeing it as it is, and we talked about this last week of a vision board, and just my own personal kind of praise report is that I did that with my car, and I drew, put my car, took a picture, put it on my bathroom wall, and every day I said, thank you that this car is paid for, no more car notes, no more riding with the finance man, no more, this is mine. And then I even went on the web and drew up a title with my name on it and all that.
Excellent.
And a 5-year note I paid off in 2.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah,
See?
yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. That's a perfect example. You can do other things in writing it in scripting. You can write deposit slips for your bank. You can write checks as if you already have the money. Okay? Put up pictures. Create a license. Create a contract with your perfect client. Write a check for $1 million. I think Jim Carrey did that or something, or some celeb. I remember hearing a story about a celebrity who hadn't earned that amount yet, once wrote a check to himself and carried it in his wallet as a constant reminder. So that's an excellent technique. So that's it. Scripting is a verbal, written way to manifest what we want, because we get clear about it. And it aligns our energy, it aligns our thoughts, words, feelings, and actions to make it consistent with what we want. That way we know when we're in the crunch time and we're in the present moment and we have a choice about what kind of conversation to have, we're like, oh, you meant this one instead. Yes. This is what I've been scripting for. This is what I want. And so we go into that mode because we're prepared for it and because we want it, and we're aligning ourselves with what we want to manifest. We're aligning ourselves mentally, emotionally, speaking. Speak the words that you write. Speak the words that you write. That puts it energetically out into the universe. Show up available for what you want. Create the conditions for what you want. Get clear on the conditions that you want. Define your purpose and what success looks like. And practice radical trust that you're being led on your own path. Honor it. Honor that business idea. Honor that goal. Honor your time. Honor what you want. And watch what happens when you put it out there. Thank you everybody for coming tonight, and remember the blue bowl.